Today's project is repair a couple of these knobs. We have them around the house that are for things like barbecue grills, or you'll find them in automobiles, TV sets, radios, whatever. So anyway, these came off a couple of appliances. I've also fixed them in cars. I had a Subaru. I've done them for, I think it was a Mitsubishi or a Nissan, I can't remember. Anyway, they have these twist knobs, and in this case, this is supposed to have a metal band around it, which has come off and gotten lost. There's a piece missing out of it. Right there, and again there's supposed to be a metal band right here holding it together, but it's gone. This one has had a rough life. I don't know if you can see, but it's cracked right in there. It's got a crack around here on this side as well. It's got like 3 cracks in it. There's another one right there. Anyway, it's not doing the job. When you twist it, it just kind of splits apart, and then of course this other piece is broken off. So anyway, I got to go through, fix those, because you just can't find them, can't buy them anywhere, so got to fix them, and besides, I think I can probably fix them faster than I could if I tried to spend a whole Saturday out looking for the parts. So anyway, let's get started with that. So the tools we're going to need today are nothing really special. Some epoxy. I strongly recommend flow dry epoxy. Some thread, a small pipe that you can get like at a hobby shop. You may have something around that like that at home. It needs to be clean. I would not recommend using anything from like a bug spray can or anything poisonous, because I'll talk to you about that in a second. A little piece of sandpaper to clean up the plastic. Some old scissors. This is a piece of cloth that I'm going to use to reattach this ear. And some drill bits are nice. I'll show you why. We're going to use those for spacers. You don't have to use drill bits, but anyway, I'll go into that in a second. You need something to space this hole, because when you start to squeeze it shut, you want to make sure it doesn't go too far shut. So anyway, those are our tools for today. Again, nothing special. Most of the things that are easy to find, or maybe you already have around the house. This type of knob goes on a shaft that looks like this. It has a flat spot on it. I'm sure you've all seen one like that. And what we need to do is we need to find an object that's about the same size. This one's a little bit too big. It's about the same size from the upper surface here to the lower surface here. And if it's a little bit bigger, that's okay. What we don't want is a little bit smaller. So anyway, we're going to use this drill bit, and we're going to place it in here when we're wrapping it, so that it doesn't squeeze this ferrule shut, because if the ferrule is too tight, it won't go back on the shaft again. So we need something to hold it at the right size, and that's what the drill bit is going to be used for, is to hold that ferrule at the right size while we're wrapping it. The next step is, if you have any broken pieces that came out of this ferrule, this part right here, if you have any broken pieces, glue them back in there. It doesn't have to be glued in really strongly. You just want them in place. You want them held in place. Because when we start to work, we don't want to have to fiddle around with it. We want to make sure that everything's in place, and all we have to do is wrap. That'll keep us busy enough. So this piece came out right there. I know it's hard to see, but it came out of that spot. So I'm going to glue that in off camera. As you can see, the broken piece has been placed in here, right in there. It's been glued in place. It's not quite dry yet, so I can't start. But what we want is we want all the pieces glued in place. It doesn't have to be real strong. They just have to be there so that when we start to repair it, it doesn't fall apart. And then of course this drill bit will be placed inside there to make sure that this is not squeezed shut. You can see that that's got some gaps in there. We want to make sure that this hole does not get squeezed shut, or it'll never go back on the shaft again, and we'll have to start over. So the first trick to this is you got to get the thread through this little tube. And how do you do that? Well, you start the thread in this end just a little bit, and then you suck on the other end, and you keep feeding it in there. Obviously that's why you want a clean tube. You want to make sure the tube is not like from something poisonous. Okay, so you start sucking it through there. You never suck something directly into your mouth. You hold this thing sideways to your mouth, not like straight in like this. You'll hold it off to the side and suck it in that way. And again, don't choke yourself. Make sure that the tube is not poisonous. There's nothing else in the tube. So don't do anything foolish. But you get the string through the tube, and that is step one. Now you're going to say, wait a minute, that's not a drill bit. But you're right. What I found is I found this wooden dowel that's a better fit for the shaft. It's a better spacer. And it's also a little bit shorter, which helps because when I'm wrapping this, it'll be out of the way on this end. So anyway, there's no hard and fast rule on it. Drill bits are nice because they come in all sorts of sizes, but in this case I found something better, so I'm going to go with that. So here's how we do it. Going to take some epoxy, put it on our ferrule. I should probably be wearing rubber gloves because I'm going to put my fingers in this stuff you're not supposed to. So I would strongly recommend gloves or something. Then we just take our string and begin to wrap it like this. Keep a little tension on the string and try to make beautiful, consistent wrappings. There we go, a little better that time. This is why I recommend using slow dry epoxy. Got to keep that string tight, keep the thread tight. Okay, right to the edge. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rub the epoxy into the thread like that. And then I'm going to put another layer on there. It's not always necessary. The stronger you want it, the more layers you use. So now I'm going to go back the other way. And it's best if you can just lay the thread right next to it, the previous layer or the previous piece. This is why I recommend the slow drying epoxy. Take your time, get it right. Don't bang the camera. Okay, when you get that part done, you take a little bit more epoxy. Put a nice coating over the outside of it, make it all smooth. Make sure that the thread is soaked with epoxy. Literally the thread has absorbed the epoxy, it's worked down into the thread. And that's it. Then you can put it aside and let it harden. This is the other one. Same technique. Get a layer of epoxy on where you're going to wrap. Keep it in focus. Not enough epoxy. Keep the thread taut. Start wrapping it around there. Typically, you want to use the fewest layers possible because sometimes there's an issue with the amount of space around this shaft, and if you get it too thick, it won't go back in there into the appliance. Okay, looks I'm out to the end. Oops, getting off camera. Once again, coat the threads with a layer of epoxy and really work it in there. Like that. Again, I really shouldn't be using a bare finger. You want to use gloves or something, but that's about it. Clean it up here a little bit. It's easier to clean it up when it's wet. Okay, that's it for the windings. The next step on this part is to replace this broken piece here, and what I'm going to use is I'm going to use some little strips of cloth, and I'm going to put them in the epoxy, get them all gooped up. I'm going to put them in here, and this is going to help hold the epoxy to the plastic, and it's also going to add reinforcement. So it's a little bit like carbon fiber, except I'm just using a piece of linen. Okay, so I'll get started with that, and I'm going to do a little bit off camera, and then I'll get back and show you. The first step on this is to glue it together like this, and then you can see where I roughed it up with sandpaper, and I did that down inside there too. So the next step is I'm going to lay those, I've got some strips of cloth, which I didn't show you, like this. It's just some cloth that I've rubbed with wet epoxy. So those I'm going to put in there next. And again, I'll do that off camera. It's terribly messy and I don't want to get it onto the camera, so if you'll forgive me, I'll be back shortly. As you can see, I have taken those cloths that are soaked with epoxy, and I've pushed them down in there, stuck them to the surface, and probably going to add a little bit more epoxy in there because I've got it. Might as well use it rather than throw it away. But this is pretty much the basics of it. And this is how I'm going to let it sit up. I'm going to have to clean out some of the stuff in the hole here, but I'd rather do that later. I don't want to fuss around with this too much until it's hardened. This one's pretty much set up. I'll remove the spacer and cut that string, remove those. There we go. I can clean this stuff out of here. It's not necessary, but I can do it. But as you can see, what I've got is I've got this band of reinforced fiber, polyester thread, but okay, it's pretty much like carbon fiber, fiberglass, whatever you want to call it, but it's very strong, and it'll work really well. You can sand this down a little bit as long as you don't get into the thread, but that's pretty much it for this one. Okay, let's look at the other one. This is the other knob, and as you can see here, here's where the crack was along here. Probably spray paint it black if I wanted it to be beautiful. And this side, not so beautiful, but it is functional. If I had some more epoxy, I'd fill this in, make it smooth. And as you can see, the cracks are all closed up around here. I've got this wound up on here. It's about as strong as steel. Also on this one, I left some lumps of epoxy, which took a lot of sanding off to get down. I wish I hadn't done that. It's a lot easier to work with when it's wet. I should have just smoothed it out. But okay, it's perfectly functional. It's for an outside gas grill, so I don't really care how it looks. But that's how it'll look when it's operating. And that's pretty much it. Hope you found it interesting and useful.